what's up? It's Matt here with another lesson to help you with your improvisation, particularly in a straight-ahead jazz context. And in this video, I want to share with you some strategies that can help you navigate changes and get more ideas for your playing and vocabulary. I'm going to show you some steps and some methods that I've used that actually were not part of my guitar studies. I really adapted them from my drum studies. And I remember when I was first playing jazz and combos, I was thinking a lot about, what are the chords, what are the chord tones that I can play? What are the arpeggios that I can play? What are the scales that fit with the chords and all the notes and all that kind of stuff, which is all really good. But when it came time to play tunes in a combo setting, particularly at up-tempo, I was struggling to put it all together. And I felt like mechanically, I just wasn't executing the way that I was used to in playing a lot of rock and blues and funk and pop is where I came from as a guitar player. So I started to realize one of my biggest weaknesses, I think at that time, or something that I still practice and continue to work on, is my rhythm. And in this video, I want to share with you some strategies to enhance your rhythm playing on guitar, so you can enhance your time, your feel, your groove, develop new ideas for vocabulary, and just endless things that happen with this system here that I'm going to show you today. So just for a little background, I was studying jazz at a community college before I graduated with a degree in jazz guitar from Arizona State University. And I was studying jazz drums at the same time. So I've kind of played drums simultaneously with my guitar playing. And when I was studying drums with my teacher at the time, he gave me this book, Progressive Steps to Syncopation by Ted Reed. And it's really a lot of just rhythmic ideas and rhythmic figures, all rhythm. As opposed to a lot of times we see in guitar books, it's like a lot of text explaining things like chords and scales, but there isn't a lot of direct application. So that's one of the reasons why I really liked this book for Ted Reed, was it was just rhythms. And there was various ways that I was taught of how to apply this to the kit in a swing jazz context and in other styles. And what started to happen was my rhythm got a lot better, my timing got a lot better, and my mechanics and my technique and my phrasing started to get a lot better by practicing these rhythms. So I thought to myself, well, if it works so well for drums, can I start adapting these ideas to guitar to enhance my playing for that? And that's what I did. I started implementing the rhythms in various ways on the guitar, and I started feeling more comfortable at the time. Things were starting to develop. I was starting to get noticed more by other players. They were complimenting me, and things started to come together. And it's been one of my go-to resources for practicing, is to actually utilize rhythm in conjunction with the chords and the scales and all that kind of stuff, which really ties it all together. So in this video, I want to share with you the creative ways that I've gone about using this book, and if it gives you some ideas that you can use for your own playing to develop your own ideas. So on the screen here, I've got one of the chapters from the Ted Reed book. And what really helped me with the rhythm and the reading was this series of quarter notes that he placed at the bottom of the staff, just marking where counts 1, 2, 3, and 4 are. So that if you're playing with the metronome, which you definitely want to or should to enhance your timing, your feel, your groove, and everything that you play, so you can jam with confidence with other people, you have that quarter note underneath each measure as a reference. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on. So you can see where the beats are, 1, 2, 3, 4. But the idea is we practice the rhythm that's written above those quarter notes. And it helps us with developing our rhythmic vocabulary. So the first thing was, as I was getting my, my rhythm and my reading together, was I would just put on the metronome and I would just play each line about 8 to 16 times and just get the reading and the rhythm and the groove down. So that's step one, is just play the rhythm as is. And I would usually just play maybe the 5th fret, an A on the top string. So that would look something like this. I'd have my click on, and I'm going to play these with swing 8th notes because that's kind of the feel with the jazz context. So if I had number 1, the rhythm be 1 and 2, 3, 4, 1 and 2, 3, 4, 1 and 2, 3, 4, 1 and 2, 3, 4. And I'd repeat that. Number 2 would be 1 and 2 and 3, 4, 1 and 2 and 3, 4, 1 and 2 and 3, 4, 1 and 2 and 3, 4. Number 3 would be 1 and 2 and 4, 1 and 2 and 4, 1 and 2 and 4, 1 and 2 and 4. And number 4 would be 1 and 2 and 4 and 2 and 4 and 2 and 4 and 2 and 4 and. Okay, and so on. So the first step was putting on a click and playing each line about 8 to 16 times to try and start to absorb the feel of each of these different rhythmic figures and just get the timing down. You can move it on to different strings if you want. But then once I got the rhythms down, I started experimenting with how can I move the notes around to generate more melodic ideas. So then I would do something like, let's say if I was taking a major scale. So let's say I take a B flat major scale. And I thought, okay, well, what if I take one of the rhythms, for example, number 1, and I just play it through the scale and see what happens. So if I did that with number 1, what I found was this. I'll play it for you first. So what I started to find was that it was starting to create melodies. And then I started taking these different approaches. So what I was really doing there was the first thing you could do is just take a series of notes. If it's B flat major, just the first four notes of the scale are fine. And if I apply that first rhythm, and 2, 3, 4, it just brings me into the E flat. And 2, 3, 4, and then I would just loop that to get that under my fingers. And 2, 3, 4, 1, and 2, 3, 4. I may even leave a bar of rest afterwards to give myself time to reset and get used to leaving space in my playing. So that would turn into 1 and 2, 3, 4, rest, 2, 3, 4, 1, and 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. Okay, so after repeating that, then I would play the same rhythm on the next note of the scale. So in this case, I'm starting on the C. And that brings me into the F. So I would get this. I get 2, 3, 4, 1, and 2, 3, 4, rest, 2, 3, 4, 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. Okay, and so on. I would basically take the rhythm and move it off of every note in the scale. And saying, well, why would you do that? Well, the idea is that if I'm improvising, I want to be able to start a phrase or an idea off of any note at any given time. So if I play it off of every note of the scale, ascending and descending, the goal is it gives me that freedom to be able to play an idea off of any note. I have the technique and the rhythm to play it. And then I would move on to the next rhythm and do the same thing, keep adding to this. So if I did number 2, I'd get and 2 and 3, 4, 1, and 2 and 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, and 2 and 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. Then I'll play it off the next note of the scale, which is the C. 1 and 2 and 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, and 2 and 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. Okay, and then I'd go through each note of the scale and repeat the process, and also descending. So you want to descend the notes off the scale. So let's say I'm descending number 3, 1 and 2 and 4. Brings me here. Number 3 would be 1 and 2 and 4, 1 and 2 and 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 and 2 and 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 and 2 and 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And I'll start it from the next note, the A. 2, 3, 4. 2, 3, 4. 1 and 2 and 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. The next note would be the G. 2, 3, 4. And so on. So what I was starting to hear was how the rhythm affected the notes in the scale, like where maybe what it sounded like, and just becoming more familiar with it. So when I went to play it, I had a sense of what it was going to sound like as I was playing it, and not, kind of be guessing as I'm playing. So that's just ascending or descending, leaving space. But then you can do things like create a loop. So if I go up the scale, let's say using number 5, 1, 2, and 4, and then I can start from the next note of the scale and descend 1, 2, and 4, and then it just creates a continuous loop. So that turns into this. 1, 2, and 4, and 1, 2, and 4, and 1, 2, and 4, and 1, 2, and 1, 2, and 4, and 1, 2, and 4, and 1. Okay, and then I'd start from the next note of the scale. So I'd have the C, 1, 2, and 4, and 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 1. The next note of the scale would be the D. 1, 2, and 4, and 1, 2, and 4, and 1, and so on. So creating a loop off of each note of the scale. And there's a lot that I started to learn from that, just listening to it and what that does. On top of, really building my technique and working on the picking and just getting fluent and that kind of stuff, there's some other things that are also going on during this process. Now, the next thing was playing the notes up and down was great, but sometimes it didn't sound super hip to me. So I try and construct a line that was maybe more something that I liked. So you can move the notes around. So maybe if you're using more like an arpeggio combined with a scale would be one example. So if I had 1, 2, and 4 and for a B flat major 7, that's kind of cool. 1, 2, and 4 and. So I just went up the arpeggio. 1, 2, and 4 and. Then I end up on the 9, the C. And that becomes a line now. So we get 1, 2, and 4 and 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, and 4 and 3, 4. 1, 2, and 4 and 3, 4. So I like that. So the games I started to play was like, okay, if I take the rhythm and combine it maybe with an arpeggio, or you could just play arpeggios just straight with the rhythm. And if you get an idea, then you start to create and craft your own lines. And then you play them in repetition so they become part of your vocabulary. You got the muscle memory built in, and you can start playing them, with other people and jamming, using them in your actual playing situations. Now this works for any scale. So if I wanted to do a minor scale, minor pentatonic, mixolydian, anything that you want to pick note-wise, scale-wise, you should try as many things as possible. So when you're playing changes, you've got vocabulary that you can use over the chord changes. You can even use them with chords. So like if I'm playing like shell voicings, for example, again, I'll use number 5, 1, 2, and 4 and. So let's say if I'm playing Autumn Leaves. I kind of played a variation on the second bar, but I started to apply some of those rhythms to chord comping. And that started to kind of build some vocabulary for that as well. So this really kind of went on, or this goes on, almost like endlessly. This has kind of been one of my go-tos for practicing, is trying to do these things with just the rhythmic figures and then applying notes and arpeggios and building lines from this. And it's enhanced so many things, like my technique, my ear, my phrasing, definitely the rhythm and the timing, and just the feel of my ability to retain new ideas and pick new ideas up. And it just goes on and on and on. I'm just giving you just kind of the tip of the iceberg today with some of these things, but hopefully guys, this was helpful in terms of giving you some ideas of how you can incorporate some new ideas into your vocabulary, improvisation, and playing using rhythmic figures. The Ted Reed book, Progressive Steps to Syncopation, is a great way to do that, but there's definitely other rhythms that you can use in different books and different styles and different contexts, and just goes on and on and on. But if you guys found this helpful, please like the video. If you want to see more content like this, please subscribe to the channel. Again, my name is Matt Friedland. I hope you enjoyed the video, and let me know in the comments if you like this, if you have any questions about anything, and I appreciate you guys watching. I'll see you in the next video. Thanks again. Bye.